Mr. Eang, I think, is a lot different than like any other coach you're gonna have. He doesn't believe in yelling at all. He really believes in like low pressure and like your motivation should come from like you wanting to do your best. And I think like as a player for him, I wanted to be better and I wanted to play well for him because like I respect him so much.
Mr. Eang was one of the nicest teachers that I ever had the pleasure to have. He was always willing to help us try new things to make any of our videos better or as cool as we wanted them to be. He was always willing to help us explore different options and new techniques.
I remember first hearing about his background, I think I was a junior, and he was the freshman coach for the first year, and he mentioned it at the banquet, and I was really surprised because he is by far one of the most happiest people I've ever met.
I was definitely really surprised when I first found out because knowing Mr. Eang, he's super nice and kind and patient with everyone, so it was definitely interesting to find out that that's where he had come from.
From 1975 to 1978, Cambodia was under the control of the Khmer Rouge. They install a system that brings the country back to year zero, meaning that go back to the period that everybody work, hard labor work as a agriculture, producing rice. And so under the Khmer Rouge control, they enslaved the first-class citizen, and they would make first-class people become slave of their own paradise. Now the peasants, they have so much animosity towards the city dwellers, so they would kind of seek their revenge indiscriminately. They just kill, and the regime allowed that to happen. 3.5 years span, about 2.7 million Cambodians have died. Vietnam invaded Cambodia in 1978. That gave us an opportunity to flood into the jungle and then eventually make our way to the Thai border. We were separated from the rest of my family, so only my mother and 2 younger siblings together. My older brother and 2 older sisters were also taken to a different campsite, forced labor campsite. So my father was taken to a different campsite. We don't know what happened to the rest of the families, but what I know is my story with my mother and with my 2 younger siblings. So we were put in one prison camp. We escaped. We were there about 6 months. We escaped, and then we got caught, and then put in another prison camps. And that second camp was the longest stint. We were there about close to 2 years. We would work about 16 to 20 hours a day. Have to get up like 5 o'clock in the morning, and would walk about 2 miles to the work site. And that work site is an open field rice paddy. As a young boy, my task was to work in the assembly line to pass the mud basket from the boy from the front of me to the next. All the adults were digging canals. Canals used to store their rainwater to irrigate the rice paddy, and that was my job, day in, day out. For the amount of time that we stayed in the camps, about 2.5 years. Then we were sponsored by my mother's distant relative. She would refer him as her uncle that lives in Aurora, Colorado. He and my mother's uncle, and along with the church, they co-sponsor a lot of families, and it just happened that he sponsored our families first. And we were giving the green light. We have to pass all physical tests and mental tests. We have to pass all that first. And then we went to a few other campsites to clear paper, and then we finally made our way to San Francisco in 1981. We stayed about 3 months in San Francisco. There was like an apartment complex that stored all the refugees. Before the final stretch to our final destination, they have to check, make sure we are 100% healthy, make sure all the paperwork's in order, and then we were flown to Aurora, Colorado to meet our sponsor. I started teaching at Chumsa High in 1995 until 2000. And in summer 2000, there was a position that opens up in the fine art department to teach graphic design and image editing and movie making. And I like Westford, so I applied for it and I got a job. So I came in fall of 2000. So it's been 16 years now. My father was a teacher. My father was a high school teacher and he was a college professor. And you know, I want to you know, make him feel proud, uphold the family name, because in Asian culture, surname is very important. Carry the lineage, you know, carrying the reputation of your family is very important. So he always encouraged me to go into education, and so I decided to follow his advice and then go towards education. Yeah. And I enjoy teaching high school students because I get to see them every day, get to interact with them every day, get to know them. So the respect from my students is the reciprocal respect. I think it's very rewarding. You help to cultivate this individual, and then if the individual becomes successful in his or her later life, it's extremely make you proud, because that one moment you share with that student, you know, it has a very long-lasting impression, and that's the beauty of teaching. I always love the game of volleyball, but I actually never played. The head coach of the boys varsity, she knew me from Chumsa High. She have heard that I play intramural volleyball, and she said, you know, I think you'd be a very good coach. You have good rapport with kids and things like that, and that's what they need. They need nurturing. And I said, sure, why not give it a try? So my first year as a head coach, we made it to the tournament for the very first time in Westford volleyball history. Although now I just coach the girls varsity and then the boys JV.
For me, mostly, the thing that I liked the most about having Mr. Eang as the coach was that I was never like the best player, and he was always very patient with me, and he was very patient with all the girls and the younger girls in the team, and he always was just very encouraging of whatever we wanted to do, if we wanted to try new positions or just try different things.
So Mr. Eang is just a really great supporter in anything you want to do. Like if you want to try something different and you're saying it's not working for you, he's like, go for it. Like he's not one to hold you back. He's one to really push you to grow and be a better person on and off the court, and so I really respect him for that.